mothers and daughters, sisters and cousins, aunts and nieces, grandmothers and granddaughters, friends and colleagues. Hundreds of thousands of precious women losing their lives to breast cancer every year. Breast cancer. It can be a killer, but it is one of the most curable of cancers if detected early. So let us get familiar with breast cancer, because when we are armed with knowledge, we can save many more lives. To begin with, what are the risk factors for breast cancer? Age. Peak incidence in the West is between 50 and 64 years, and in India it is 5 to 7 years earlier. A long menstrual life, early menarche before the age of 12, late menopause after the age of 54, nulliparity, and the first child after the age of 30. No breastfeeding. Increased levels of or prolonged exposure to hormones, both estrogens and progestogens, through the prolonged use of oral contraceptives with higher estrogen content and/or hormone replacement therapy. Family history. Breast cancer in a first degree or second degree relative. Genetic mutations, BRCA1 and BRCA2, which can increase a woman's lifetime risk of developing the cancer from 45 to 85%. But known genetic factors account for only 5 to 10% of all breast cancers. Other important factors are obesity, physical inactivity, high alcohol intake, a high-fat diet, exposure to ionizing radiation, and high socioeconomic status. But the truth is, most women who develop breast cancer have none of these risk factors. Next, epidemiology. Let's start with the global picture. Across the world, over 1 million new breast cancer cases are reported each year, leading to over 400,000 deaths. It is the most frequently diagnosed cancer in women worldwide, 23% of all cancers. In affluent societies, the lifetime risk is 1 in 8 or 9. Now let's come home to India. In 2012, around 145,000 cases of breast cancer were diagnosed and over 70,000 deaths reported. It is the commonest cancer among women, having surpassed cancer of the cervix uteri. The incidence rate is 21.9 to 28.3 per 100,000 in urban areas and only 8.6 per 100,000 in rural areas. The lifetime risk is 1 in 25, but WHO predicts that by 2020, it will match the Western rate of 1 in 8. Locally advanced breast cancer constitutes more than 50 to 70% of patients presenting for treatment, which means that Indian women get diagnosed at a later stage, raising the mortality rate. Early detection is crucial to reduce the mortality rate. In fact, in developing countries, we see a higher disease burden despite lower incidence. According to WHO's Globocan, for the year 2012, an estimated 70,218 women died of breast cancer in India, more than any other country in the world. Second was China, with 47,984 deaths. Third was the USA, with 43,909 deaths. Notice the difference in the numbers. Which means in India, late diagnosis leads to advanced cancer, leads to higher number of deaths. Early detection is crucial. So, what are the methods of early detection in asymptomatic women? Monthly breast self-exam, clinical exam by a doctor or nurse, mammography. In India, the first point of contact for a woman's breast exam is the gynecologist or female family physician. These doctors must stay aware and sensitive to the issue of early detection. Teach your patients breast self-examination. Perform a clinical exam of your patients once a year. Add a reminder in your patient records. Clinical examination by the physician must be done properly, methodically, so as not to miss an early cancer. Women must be undressed from neck to the waist. Examining a patient's breasts over her clothes should never be done. Inspection and looking for changes should be done in the sitting position. Axillary and clavicular nodes are also palpated in the sitting position. Palpating for changes in the breast is done in the supine position with arms above the head. When you examine your patient's breasts, keep in mind the signs and symptoms. Any change in the shape of the breast, any skin discoloration, any lump or thickening in the breast or underarm, or any changes in the shape of the nipple like puckering, retraction, or nipple discharge. Any change from the normal look and feel of the breast must be investigated. Please do not ignore even the smallest departure from the normal. Remember the screening protocol. Breast self-examination once a month after the age of 20. Clinical examination once a year after the age of 30. Mammogram once in 2 years after the age of 40. Mammogram once a year after the age of 50. Breast cancer can develop in any woman at any age.
As a gynecologist, we must make it a point to keep a focus on the breast when we are treating our patients. The incidence, especially among urban women, is rising alarmingly, and more younger women are being diagnosed with the disease. Whether a patient has come to us for conception, delivery, contraception, or menopausal symptoms, we have to palpate the breasts to check for any abnormalities. I must mention here that patients that present with abnormal uterine bleeding associated with endometrial hyperplasia or have chronic uninterrupted high estrogen levels like polycystic ovarian disease with infertility are at a higher risk of breast cancer. So we must advise them to go for screening as well as teach them breast self-examination. Essentially, we cannot ignore any breast abnormality because if a tumor is palpable, it is already in stage 2. Every gynecologist must stay alert for the signs of breast cancer. Don't you think we owe it to our patients?
I'll be talking about my wife, Anjali, who couldn't make it, but I'd like to share her story. She was only about 29 or 30 when she was diagnosed, and there was a little lump in her breast. And like everybody, we go to a gynecologist who is in the family. So we went to a family-known doctor. We felt a little more comfortable and the trust. And when we went, she felt it, and it was a small one, and she said, I think this is hormonal, and it'll go with time. You don't need to worry. After about 8 months or 6 months maybe, we checked it again, it had grown, and she said, okay, you're just too young to get cancer. But we were a little worried, and by the time we got the proper FNAC done, and it was diagnosed that it was cancer after all. Doctors, please do not neglect women, especially with lumps, at any age.
With breast cancer emerging as one of the fastest growing cancers, if there's even the slightest concern about a patient having any sign or symptom of breast cancer, the next step is obviously a mammogram. When conducted and interpreted properly, a mammogram can pick up even the smallest of lesions, and even something called microcalcification, which is an indicator of early sign of breast cancer confined to the milk ducts. This can even be seen in the breast which is dense on mammogram. So it is only in the younger woman with the dense breast and a woman who is an older woman with a dense breast where you recommend an ultrasound. So what are the guidelines for the imaging protocols in symptomatic women? Ultrasound for women below the age of 30, mammogram and ultrasound for women between the ages of 30 and 50, and possibly only a mammogram for those over the ages of 50, combined with ultrasound if the breast is dense. One is often asked about the role of MRI. Now, the first thing is an MRI is indicated if there is a diagnostic dilemma. That means the mammogram and ultrasound are equivocal. In that case, an MRI is definitely indicated. It would also be recommended in women below the age of 30. It could be used also in women who have 2 first-degree relatives with breast cancer, because you could miss a small lesion. If a person has a risk of more than 80%, a genetic risk, in that case, definitely an MRI, a genetic counseling, and also a breast specialist consult.
I think I have come across a lot of women who avoid screening because they are scared to, find something. I would say twice lucky. One, that I went at the time that I did. 2, that even if I had a lump, it was a really tiny one.
In case we find any suspicious lesion, we go in for FNAC or core biopsy, as the case may be. Ultrasound guidance, being cost effective and convenient, remains the first choice for intervention. Ideally, mammography remains the gold standard for screening the world over, as it picks up early stage cancer. However, in India, due to financial constraints, clinical breast examination by the attending physician or gynecologist is the next best choice. There is a general misconception that frequent mammography leads to breast cancer. One is probably not aware that all of us are exposed to natural background radiation present in the atmosphere equivalent to 4 mammographies in a year. By detecting early cancer, the benefits of mammography far outweighs the theoretical risk.
I was lucky. I went for my mammogram and my tumor was detected at a very early stage. I didn't need chemotherapy. My breast was saved and I was in the hospital just for 1 day.
When a patient has been diagnosed with a malignant tumor in her breast, metastatic workup is carried out before surgical planning. In early stage 1 and 2, only chest X-ray, ultrasound of the abdomen, and LFT are carried out. Bone scan if LFT is abnormal or there are bony symptoms. In stages 3A and 3B, which is locally advanced breast cancer, PET-CCT or CCT of the chest and abdomen and a bone scan is indicated according to the NCCN guidelines. In early stage 1 and 2, surgical removal of tumor and ipsilateral lymph nodes, if involved, is the first step. Surgical options include breast conservative surgery and mastectomy. Unlike earlier times, a radical mastectomy can now be avoided in many cases. In breast conservation surgery, only 1 cm of the normal surrounding tissues are removed, followed by radiation to the remaining breast. The patient also has the option of breast reconstruction surgery, which is done at the same time or later by attaching tissues taken from her back or abdomen. A meta-analysis has proven that there is no difference in the overall survival between radical mastectomy and breast conservation surgeries. The decision regarding mastectomy, surgery of breast conservation surgery, and sentinel node must be made by experts in the field for better results. If ipsilateral axillary node not clinically palpable, a sentinel node is done at the same time of the surgery with immediate frozen section. If sentinel lymph node is not involved with cancer, the rest of the axillary lymph nodes from 10 to 13 number are not removed. This has improved the quality of life of such patients with considerable reduction in lymphedema of the arm, sensory loss of the arm, and restricted shoulder movements. Advantages of breast conservation surgery with only sentinel node has the advantage of quicker recovery and better psychosocial adjustment. Of late, we have been treating many younger patients from 29 to 40 years of age. Here, the breast cancer is biologically different, is more often aggressive. There are additional issues of fertility, management of inherited breast cancer syndrome, maintenance of bone health, and secondary prevention.
Due to late detection, I had to lose a breast. But that's not the end of the world. I went in for a breast reconstruction surgery. And believe me, after that, my body is absolutely normal the way it was earlier. I have a new breast.
After surgery, we have to examine all the aspects of the patient's condition before deciding upon the best course of therapy. Most women with tumors larger than 1 centimeter would require chemotherapy unless she falls in an extremely low risk category. If the tests show positivity for estrogen or progesterone receptors, hormonal therapy with drugs like tamoxifen and aromatase inhibitors is indicated after the completion of chemotherapy. If the tumor is positive for the HER2 receptor, trastuzumab is to be used for around 1 year. Radiation therapy can be planned either in between or after the completion of the chemotherapy cycles. In some cases, chemotherapy may be planned prior to the surgery itself. This helps us better understand the effectiveness of the chemotherapeutic drug in that tumor. All patients dread the side effects of chemotherapy and radiation. These treatments do not come without their side effects, but we now have powerful drugs that reduce the intensity of these effects. These include antiemetics to reduce or prevent the nausea and vomiting, steroids to avoid reactions, and effective painkillers for the pain. Latest advances have now equipped us with targeted therapies that are directed to kill the malignant cells and protect healthy tissue to a large extent. Many new drugs are currently under development. New tumor targets are being evaluated, and we hope to see many more improvements in the outlook for women with breast cancer in our lifetime itself. Breast cancer is not a death sentence. Countless brave survivors bear testimony to the efficacy of modern medical treatment.
I had the chemo, I had the radiation, I had the hair fall, I had the nausea, I had, everything that was there with it. But it always seemed to me that it would pass.
I'm very proud to say that today I don't feel as if I ever had breast cancer. I feel as if it was some external lump which was just removed and I'm just carrying on with life as normal, in fact better.
Each of these women is at risk from breast cancer. Urbanization and change of traditional lifestyles is pushing up the rates of incidence. We have to fight it by staying vigilant and giving due importance to the most minute sign or symptom. We have to join the crusade against breast cancer.